I find it quite hilarious when fellow Americans call for war, when they start beating the war drum. I find it quite hilarious when fellow Americans they ask for civil war, they ask for war overseas. They just ask for any kind of war, right? They just, yeah, we're going to war. Yeah, I'm ready for this war. Man, Americans are not ready for any kind of war, foreign or domestic, right? Did y'all not forget, or did you forget that most Americans are severely overweight? Did you forget that most Americans are severely obese? Or did the statistics and the facts just go over your head because you mofos don't read, right? America's not ready for any kind of war, right? War with China? Are you serious? No, right? We'll absolutely lose that. Civil war? No. The fact of the matter is, right? If things were to go down, most of you would probably most of you would be dead and gone in probably a week, right? And not even just war. We're talking about societal collapses as well. God forbid if our power grids or our water supplies, right, somehow went out, or we had a severe shortage of food, most of you will be wiped out in a week, right? And I don't care if you got a rifle, I don't care if you got a shotgun, right? That ain't gonna help you long term, right? What's gonna help you long term is being proficient in your body. Most people are not proficient in their body. Most people don't even understand their body. Most people don't take care of their body. You walk down the stairs and you're breathing hard. You walk up the stairs at work. You walk up one flight of stairs and your heart about to pop out your chest talking about war, right? You shot your AR-15 one time and you're talking about war. Please, America's not ready for war, right? And on top of not being proficient in your own body, right? Most Americans are just psychologically underdeveloped, right? Most Americans are sick psychologically, right? We've been poisoned with social media, right? We've been poisoned with legacy media, right? Our minds are filled up with trash. And since our minds are filled up with trash, we fill our bodies up with trash, right? And it's just a constant cycle, right? We eat fast food like it's vegetables, right? We're all kinds of messed up. A lot of Americans on psycho medicine, right? Or psycho drugs, or whatever the name of the drug is. Most Americans are just mentally gone, right? A portion of Americans need to be evaluated by a psychologist, right? But we're sitting up here talking about war. Please, man, please tune it down. Actually turn it off. Because let's be honest, a civil war in America would be the end of America. Right? Now, unless you're that gun hold on just destroying the very fabric of America, then touche, ninja, touche. Right? But nobody's prepared. Americans don't know what it even feels like to have a war in our backyard. Right? We've been sheltered from war after war after war, right? We haven't had to fight any kind of war. There has not been a war on any one of our borders, right? The Canadian border or the Mexican border. There's never been a war on U.S. soil. The closest thing that has happened to the U.S. is probably what Pearl Harbor, right? Outside of the Civil War and what the American Revolution, ninja, right? Outside of those things, I mean, America has never seen war. People who are alive today have never seen war on U.S. soil. But now everybody wants to call for war on U.S. soil. You got the fattest, out of shapeest ninja people talking about, yeah, we're going to go to war, ninja. You're at war with yourself right now, ninja. Your calf muscles is non-existent. Your calves are about to explode. Your arteries about to pop, right? Just talking about war, ninja. People are subject to all kinds of high blood pressure, diabetes, right? As soon as you hit the field running, you're gonna die. Please, man. Please. Americans are not ready. Not ready for anything. Americans like to talk, This is what we have become proficient at, running our damn mouth and not putting forth any action. I mean, look at the country. Look at the country. The country is totally messed up because we got a bunch of people who just want to talk, right? Who can't even take care of their backyard first before they're trying to worry about what everybody else got going on. Come on now, right? You're 200, 300 pounds, right? So you can shoot your rifle. What happens when it's time to run, right? And even outside of war, what happens when you're in a life or death situation? Did you ever think about that? What happens when you or your family members are in a life or death situation, right? Because Lord knows it happens all the time, whether we're talking about school shootings, whether we're talking about church shooting, mass shootings, right? You just go into the movie theater, there's a shooting. You just going into an event, there's a shooting, right? What happens when you need to run away? What happens when you need to throw somebody over your back and carry them? What happens if you just need a few more minutes, right, to get to a tourniquet or to a shirt to tie your leg up from a bullet wound or a stab wound? What happens when you just your circulation is so horrible, right? Your circulation is so horrible, it just wouldn't matter if what happened to you. If you got shot or stabbed, you're done. But what happens when you put the body under pressure? What happens if you put the body in that machine? Then you're ready for all kinds of things. Not saying that you're just gonna come out like Superman, but you'll be better. You'll be better off than that fat Sloppaloposaurus, right? When it's time to run, fight or flight, right? You can actually choose, right? Most people can't even choose, right? Your body go in a fight or flight situation. You can't fight or flight. You won't be able to fight or flight. Why? Because you didn't train for nothing. You didn't train for anything, right? You eat McDonald's every day, stuffing your mouth with Wingstop, Whataburger, In and Out, right? You don't care about yourself. Americans don't care about themselves, man. That's just what it comes down to. I think we stay in a population full of depressed individuals. That's what I think. I think America is filled up with a bunch of depressed individuals who care nothing for themselves, who don't care to take care of themselves, right? Who don't care to take care of their minds, who don't care to take care of their emotions, who don't care to take care of their spirit, right? I think that's most Americans, right? And we're so depressed, so deluded, right? We don't even see like our inefficiencies. We don't even see our inefficiencies, right? Because we're so busy pointing the finger, right? We're so busy looking over somebody else's fence, right? Looking at the next person to blame, worried about the next person's backyards, right? When you got weeds and dinosaur bones, right? Dead dogs and cats all in your backyard. You got all kinds of demons and shit that you need to clear out from your house, but you're worried about the next man's house, right? You ready to swing and shoot your fellow American, right? Not knowing that your enemy is within as well. Boom. Your enemy is within your own body. Your enemy is within your own mind. You're fighting the war yourself. How you gonna win? Listen, man. How are Americans gonna win an actual physical war when we can't even win a war with our own physical selves? Come on now. I hope I'm making plenty of sense. How are we gonna go into a full-fledged war when most Americans are struggling with the war with themselves? Americans are beat up and battered at this point. There's no room for war. Everybody's in debt. Everybody's worried about the cost of living. Everybody's worried about the cost of food. Most people they damn near can't even afford to put food in the house, right? Americans are falling behind on bills. I think 90% of Americans don't have the room to be talking about war, right? That sounds like people who have nothing else left to lose, right? Now, unless that's the route that we're going with it, unless we're saying that Americans are a group of people who have nothing else to lose, unless we're saying that. If we're saying that, then okay, that's a whole different situation. But Americans don't have the room, they don't have the time, they don't have the wherewithal, don't have the willpower, right? To be talking about going to war with who exactly? With who? China? That's not winnable. That's not winnable. Russia? I don't think we want to do that either, right? I don't think we want to do that either, right? Within ourselves, no, then you might as well at that point just burn the whole country down, right? I mean, most people are drop dead within a week, 2 weeks. 60% of the population will fall. I mean, that's just the truth, right? Most people wouldn't last. You wouldn't last within a fallout. You wouldn't last with a power grid fallout. You wouldn't last with a severe transportation issue of food, right? You wouldn't last with a severe undermining of our whole country. Most of you wouldn't survive. I need you to go back home and rethink your whole life. I need you to go back home and rethink your whole life. Because it's why? Until we see Americans in mass get in shape, until we see Americans in mass take their bodies seriously, until we see Americans in mass reject fast food as a whole, right? And put healthy food, vegetables, right? Healthy meals at the forefront of our society, right? It's not going to happen. That's really a pipe dream, right? I know a lot of you probably playing Call of Duty and all of that shit, right? Got your minds all warped. That's the problem too, right? So busy on social media, so busy on these video games, right? You don't know the difference between reality and real life, or the difference between reality and fantasy, right? Reality and fantasy, right? You're so engulfed in social media. You're so engulfed into Netflix and Hulu, right? You're so engulfed in the video game world, virtual reality. You don't even know real life situations. Most Americans are uninformed anyway. You're ill informed, right? I'm continuously shocked about the amount of information. Even the people who are subscribed to me right now, I'm just shocked and surprised at the amount of information that you ninjas don't know, right? And that just goes into the laziness of Americans, right? You're so damn lazy and overweight and obese, it translates into your mental capacity, right? It translates into your willpower. You don't even have the willpower or the mental capacity, the mental fortitude to take 30 minutes out of your day to do some substantial research on something, to do some research on a topic, a meaningful topic, or actually research statistics and facts, right? But you want to go, you want to get all of your media, right? Get all of your facts and data from an influencer, right? From Facebook, from Instagram, right? And I implore you, even when I say stuff, go and fact check it. Go and look it up. Because I've already done the research. I've already done the research. Some of you are going to be talking, well, if a lot of us got our guns. We don't need to run 2 miles. We don't need to run 2 miles to go to war. We don't need to, man, shut up. See, a lot of you think this is Call of Duty. You think you just gonna shelter in place. Nah, nah, you ain't gonna shelter in place. Nah, this ain't Call of Duty, right? This ain't the Fallout map, ninja. Ain't no sheltering in place. This is real life. No, you gotta run. You're gonna have to run. You're gonna have to jog. You're gonna have to go to the next place. You may have to go to your neighbor's house, right? You may have to go to a meetup point, right? Or you may have to travel miles and miles. You may have to travel to the next state over, right? You don't know what you're going to have to do, but you think this is Call of Duty. Yeah, okay. Americans think this is a video game, right? Because you've never really seen anything. Americans never really seen true heartache. Americans have never seen true poverty. Americans have never seen true warfare, not in this modern day and age. You haven't. Meanwhile, Europe is always the center of war. Hell, they've had multiple wars on their soil, and then you got the Ukrainian-Russian war beating on their door. So they're not strangers to war at all. They're not strangers to bombs and sirens going off and having to shelter in bomb shelters. Americans don't know what that feels like, right? You've never been in a place where people were getting wiped out and slaughtered because, two different tribes were going back and forth. Y'all ain't never been in that kind of situation. But meanwhile, y'all want to call for something like that? Please, man, please. Sit y'all fat asses down, right? Matter of fact, don't sit down. Go get in shape before you start talking about some fucking wars, right? You're not ready for any kind of war. Mental war. Half y'all don't know who's telling the truth and who's telling lies in the first place, right? You're psychologically beaten down. You can't tell the difference. You don't know what politician is lying to you. You don't know what politician is telling a lie. I can tell you who's telling a lie. I can tell you because I do my research, and you can't sit up here and lie to somebody who does research or know the facts and the numbers and the data and historical context. Most of you don't know shit, right? But you just take their word for it. Oh yeah, I trust him. I trust Mr. Trump. I trust Mr. Trump. I trust the politicians. I trust them. I don't. They don't trust you, Ninja. They don't trust you, right? You're not ready for any kind of psychological war, mental, emotional wars, spiritual wars. Most of y'all are just beaten dead. Most of y'all are just walking dead. You have your vessel is all messed up, right? Body all contorted, ankles about to pop, emotions out of whack. Your mental is out of frame. Most Americans are just fucking dead. And that's an after pill. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one.